God, it's Friday. Today is the last Friday in the month of February 2026. And of course, today is 27th February 2028, the only month that ends in 28 days and 29 in each leap year. My name is Winifred Weber, your host on the program. Welcome. Without wasting much time, we head up to our newspaper review corner where we have Leadership newspaper, Nigeria's most influential newspaper, leading the pack. Let's go there. Leadership's leading story this Friday says INEC revises election timetable, faces presidential/National Assembly polls for January 16, 2027. Governorship/State Assembly elections February 6. Perhaps we'll take some excerpts from that leading story. We head up to page 4 of Leadership, Nigeria's most influential newspaper, to get excerpts from the cover story. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has released a revised timetable for the 2027 general elections following the repeal of the Electoral Act 2022 and the enactment of the Electoral Act 2026, which introduced major adjustments to statutory timelines governing electoral activities. In a statement signed by National Commissioner and Chairman of the Information and Voter Education Committee, Malam Mohammed Kudu Haruna, the Commission confirmed that the presidential and National Assembly elections will now be held on Saturday, 16 January 2027, instead of the earlier scheduled date of 20 February 2027. The governorship and state houses of assembly elections have also been moved from 6 March 2027 to Saturday, 6 February 2027. According to INEC, the decision to realign the timetable was taken to ensure full compliance with the provisions of the new Electoral Act 2026, which modifies timelines for party primaries, campaigns, and other pre-election activities. Under the revised schedule, party primaries, including the resolution of disputes, will run from 23 April to 30 May 2026. Campaigns for the presidential and National Assembly elections will commence on 19 August 2026, while campaigns for the governorship and state houses of assembly elections will begin on 9 September 2026. We just took some excerpts from today's leading story on Leadership Friday, and of course, it's also the leading story in some of the papers we have on our lineup for review this Friday. We move ahead to other papers, to other stories gracing the cover of Leadership Friday. Power supply dips further amid gas shortages, low water levels, 6 trillion naira debt. The story is on page 8 of Leadership Friday. Power supply dips further amid gas shortages, low water levels, 6 trillion naira debt. President determined to implement state police minister. 263 stranded Nigerians arrive in Kano from Niger Republic. ADC, PDP, and NPP fought Tinubu's claim of not killing opposition. Of course, the president did say yesterday that he doesn't have a gun, so why would he be accused of killing the opposition? And today, reaction to that, ADC, PDP, and NPP fought Tinubu's claim of not killing opposition. Southern Cardinal youths rally behind El-Rufai's probe by ICPC, EFCC, DSS. Southern Cardinal youths rally behind El-Rufai's probe by ICPC, EFCC, DSS. And that story continues on page 6 of Leadership Friday. Just beneath the masthead of Leadership Friday, Presidency reacts as Mark Atiku B orders reject 2026 Electoral Act. The story is on page 4 of Leadership. FCPC accuses domestic airlines of price fixing. Lastly, on the cover of Leadership Friday, World Cup, Jamaica expresses concern over delaying FIFA's verdict on DR Congo eligibility. The story is on page 37 of Leadership. We move to the page 3 of Leadership, where the second page we normally review every day on this program, and that is our stand. Today's stand is on tax before the new IGP. The appointment of Assistant Inspector General Police, AIG, Tunji Disu, as acting Inspector General Police IGP by President Bola Tinubu following the resignation of Kayode Egbetokun comes at a period when the country's security situation demands urgent, decisive, and competent leadership. Egbetokun, who was appointed in June 2023 and was serving a 4-year term scheduled to end in 2027, cited pressing family considerations in his resignation letter. While the president has expressed appreciation for Egbetokun's service and professionalism, the reality on the ground tells a different story. However, let's take the stand inside our stand. We move to the conclusion where the paper actually takes a stand. Like I always mention, our stand and editorial, like in other papers, is the collective view of the paper for the day. So let's take the stand inside our stand. It says, but trust is earned, not declared. It is earned when officers stop treating citizens as suspects and sources of revenue. It is earned when complaints of brutality are investigated rather than buried. It is earned when the police show up to protect communities before tragedy strikes, not after. The new IGP must translate these fine words into institutional change. On the operational front, DSU must adopt both kinetic and non-kinetic approaches to the security crisis. Military-style operations against armed groups are necessary, but they are not sufficient. Intelligence-led policing, community engagement, technology deployment, and interagency coordination are all critical components of any serious security strategy. Today's stand in leadership, tax before the new IGP. From our stand, we move to the back page of the paper. The third page we also review every day on this program. And the back page every Friday is Conversation with Azu. And today's conversation is on El-Rufai, what a good turn didn't deserve. El-Rufai, what a good turn didn't deserve. Conversation with Azu. What triggered the recent spate of loose talk for which El-Rufai is now standing trial for a crime? He began at what was supposed to be his moment of reward for backing President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's election to office in 2023. Tinubu doesn't need the distraction, not because he needs El-Rufai to help him win a second term, but because trashing the former governor, despite his valuable contributions to the party and the president's electoral success, prioritizes politics over competence and charity. We just took quotes from today's back page column, Conversation with Azu. El-Rufai, what a good turn didn't deserve. Before we leave the back page, as we always do, we always want to leave the page and leadership with humor. We visit Ghana Must Go. The new IGP, Disu says, era of impunity over. And of course, Ghana Must Go replied, we dey here. In other words, not be today, we dey here. It's on that note we conclude review of Leadership newspaper this Friday. Don't forget to log into www.leadership.ng for continuation of these headline stories and also inside stories. We move ahead to the next paper we have on our lineup. Like I mentioned earlier, the INEC timetable shift is a constant in all the papers today. And of course, the next paper we have is The Guardian. The Guardian says INEC ignores Electoral Act protest, shifts 2027 elections for Ramadan. INEC ignores Electoral Act protest, shifts 2027 elections for Ramadan. That story is on page 6 of The Guardian. Over 100 terrorists stormed Benue villages, killed 150, witness tears court. Over 100 terrorists stormed Benue villages, killed 150, witness tears court. 2027 polls, Yoruba Ronu withdraw support for APC, backs ADC. Commission documents 700,000 out-of-school children. Federal government deepens credit corp, targets wider coverage, disbursement. Bauchi governor says 10,000 were armed bandits attacking communities. Constitution amendment delay fuels anxiety ahead of 2027 elections. Distillers barricade NAFDAC Lagos office over alcohol sachet ban. And that story is on page 7 of The Guardian. Distillers barricade NAFDAC Lagos office over alcohol sachet ban. That takes us to the stories just beneath the masthead of The Guardian. Federal government insists on state police awaits legislative backing. Senate 4-0 capital demands accountability as ministers defend fiscal reforms. Lastly, on the cover of The Guardian this Friday, report terrorist attacks on Nigeria, Benin, Niger borders rose by 262% in 2025. And that report continues on page 3 of The Guardian. And with that, we conclude review of front headline stories on The Guardian this Friday. For more, log into the website of The Guardian, www.guardian.ng. From the Guardian, we move to the next paper on our lineup, and that is Vanguard. Vanguard talking about postponement of elections. INEC moves 2027 polls to January 16. Osun Guba holds August 15, 2026. Atiku, Obi, Amechi, Mark, Galadima, others reject electoral law. And lastly, on the cover of Vanguard this Friday, FCCPC indicts airlines over inflated airfares during Yuletide. And that brings to a close review of front headline stories on the Vanguard newspaper this Friday. Actually, we also have the picture, beautiful picture actually of His Majesty Ogiame Atuwase 3, CFR, the Olu of Warri Kingdom, and First Lady, Federal Republic of Nigeria, Oluremi Tinubu, installed as Utukpa Orishe of Warri Kingdom during the First Lady's homecoming visit to the Olu of Warri Palace in Delta State yesterday. Congratulations to our First Lady. And that also brings to a close the review of Vanguard newspaper. For more, log into the website of Vanguard. We move ahead to the next paper on our lineup, and that is Daily Sun. Daily Sun says as INEC reverses timetable 2027, election now holds January 16, February 6. Party primaries begin April 23 and May 30. Campaign to start presidential/National Assembly August 19, governorship/House September 19, 2026. Kickers to the leading story on INEC's timetable shift. 2027, I'll not leave PDP, Makinde vows, whose focus on competence, good governance, shown personal loyalty, says governor. Supreme Court's focus is to strengthen public confidence in administration of justice, coming from the Chief Justice of Nigeria, CJN. Opposition parties reject amended Electoral Act, insist on real-time transmission of election results. Tinubu decries killing opposition parties. Alleged certificate forgery, hearing in ex-minister suit against UNN orders told. We move towards the masthead of Daily Sun. We have evidence of airfare manipulation by domestic airlines, FCCPC. Your actions detrimental to airline survivor, AON fires back. And lastly, on the cover of Daily Sun newspaper this Friday, assassination attempt on Obi, APC absorbs self, blames ADC. And that brings to a close review of front headline stories on Daily Sun newspaper this Friday. For more, log into www.thesun.ng. From the Sun, we move over to the last paper we have on our lineup for review this Friday, and that is Blueprint. Blueprint says INEC approves January 16, 2027 for Presidential National Assembly polls, February 6 for governorship, State Assembly, Osun Guba, August 15, 2026. Nigeria's democracy has evolved into a defining feature, coming from UN. Why we built furnished NSCDC Command and Control Center, coming from Tantita. Support a major boost to our operations, CJ Audi. Rivers, Fubara Risk Riot Act to new SSG, Senate 6 end to concentralized contract, 7 public officials ineligible for honorary degree, says NUC. Police arrest 113 kidnappers at Edo ransom collection points. 5 worshippers killed in Kebbi Mosque. Police arrest 113 kidnappers at Edo ransom collection points. And that takes us to the stories just beneath the masthead of Blueprint newspaper. Iwada donates 100 million naira to Akwa Ibom Varsity for research. Access Bank targets that trade growth with zero fee PAPSS. And lastly, on the cover of Blueprint, sports news. Pre-WAFCON, Ajibade 16 orders in camp as Falcon set for Cameroon. And that brings to a close review of front headline stories on Blueprint newspaper this Friday. For more, log into the website of Blueprint newspaper, www.blueprint.ng. Obvious, that brings to a close today's program Inside Nigerian Leadership Television, where we review some front headline stories of some select newspapers, including Nigeria's foremost Friday newspaper, Leadership. Don't forget to head up to our website www.leadership.ng for more stories, and don't also forget to subscribe and follow us on all our social media handles. Thanks for joining us once again. My name is Winifred Ugbebo.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have the last word.